Welcome back to another episode of Plant-Based Dads. I'm Joey. We are a mostly whole foods vegan cooking channel. We do some product reviews, some transitioning advice. Lately we're on the Starch Solution. Occasionally there's some DIY stuff. And we do some baking. If you like what you hear so far, please hit that like button, show us some love, and please think about subscribing and become part of the Plant-Based Dads family. Okay, so today's video I'm going to be answering some of your questions that you guys have sent me either in comments or direct messages and Instagram, and maybe this will help you know a little bit more about who I am. All right, so the first question is, where are you from? So I grew up in Long Island, but I was born in Brooklyn in Park Slope. In the house! I know there are some you New Yorkers that are following me on the show. Next question is, how old are you? All right, so this coming October, I'll be 56. So I'm closing in on 60, and it's scary. So part of the whole thing about my health and getting in better shape and all that is, I'm running out of time. How much time do I have to get back in shape and enjoy, the later part of my life as a healthy man? What's your favorite movie? All right, so my favorite movie, I absolutely love City of Angels. And I'm not a big Nick Cage fan. I'm not a big Meg Ryan fan. There's the one part of the movie where she's riding her bike and down that hill, and you know that scene where the truck's coming up the hill, and I swear I'm in the audience. The entire audience was like, oh no, like the entire audience. I was just like, oh my gosh, no, don't tell me this is happening. And then the rest of it goes downhill from there. So one of my all-time favorite movies, probably my all-time favorite movie. After that, it would be sci-fi stuff like Back to the Future and, Star Wars and all that. What was the turning point that made you become vegetarian and then become vegan? What made you go plant-based? So I talked about this in a video a few years ago on the channel, and it all happened when I went to a work party for the people at Tim's job. And there was this lady, Judy, that I met. Now, she was a vegetarian. I must have said something to her that led her to believe that I would want to be vegetarian. Now, this was, at this point, like 14 years ago. So a week had gone by, and we're at home, and Tim comes home from work and says, hey, Judy gave me this pamphlet to give you. And I took the pamphlet, and I didn't think anything about it. And then maybe days went by, and I'm going to the bathroom, and the pamphlet happened to be by the bathroom door. So I grabbed it. Not that I ever read in the bathroom. I don't. But I always go in there, do my business, and get out. But I took it with me. I don't know. I just did. And it was a PETA pamphlet, right? So I started reading it. And as I'm sitting there, I'm horrified. It talked about how 70% of pigs develop hoof disease, where their hoofs are all starting to become infected and they start decaying while they're still alive in those cages they can't move around in. And like a huge majority of pigs go insane mentally before they're ever slaughtered. I was horrified. I had no idea. I was a meat eater. I, like everyone else, thought, they have a beautiful life and they're running around frolicking. And then at some point, maybe their health starts to go and they're like, okay, well, they're going to die anyway. Let's slaughter them and then we'll send them to the grocery store or whatever. Like, I had no idea. That was it for me. That was 2006, the year Lexx was born. I never ate meat again, ever, after that. I went for the next 12 years as a vegetarian. During the time I was a vegetarian, because I stopped eating the meat and just ate the side dishes, I gained 50 pounds during that time. So, being a vegetarian was by no means about my health because I got a lot heavier and a lot less healthier as a vegetarian. It was about the animals, and I'll never go back. I'm not going to ever become an ex-vegan because the point of why I did this was of compassion, and I don't want to hurt the animals. So I'm not going back, but it did take me a long time to get to the vegan part. I wound up becoming vegan 2 years ago, which is when I started this channel. Now, it's been a journey. I haven't looked back. I don't miss cheese or any of that stuff. I've been trying to eat whole food plant-based, and that's been a challenge because there is just so much good vegan junk food now. I mean, it's just as unhealthy being a vegan now as it is being, a meat eater who's eating the standard American diet, because vegan food has now become to the point where it's mimicking standard American diet food, and you almost can't tell the difference when you're eating it. And because of that, the fat content is just through the roof, right? So that's the whole story of how I became a vegan and vegetarian. I was sitting on the toilet and became a vegetarian and eventually a vegan. So definitely some interesting conversation there. The next question is, I visited your Instagram and found that you have a love for vegan cupcakes. The next question is, you should do a video with High Carb Hannah. She lives in your state and you guys are not far from each other. Yeah, I agree. I worship the ground that High Carb Hannah walks on. She's built a complete empire out of changing her health and her diet. And I absolutely love her. So yeah, somebody tell her that I'm here about an hour from her in Phoenix. She's in the Tucson area. And let her know that I'm available. What kind of supplements do you guys take? All right, so Tim handles all the supplements. He's got vitamins and all that stuff for Lexx and supplements. And for me, he buys all that. It's all vegan. I take B12 and D3. So the next question is, any advice for doing the Starch Solution when the other half is not on board? Is that your situation? So the Starch Solution, you know, I'm doing that, and that is tough when you're doing it with someone who's not really worried about what they eat. For instance, with Tim, you know, I've pre-made my food for the week because I talk about food prep all the time, and Tim's like, oh, I'm doing that Starch Solution food with you. I'm like, that's fantastic, right? So I make enough for both of us. And you know, when it's come time to eat, I'm like, hey, you want a baked potato, or do you want, you know, refried beans tonight, and we want a salad on the side, or do you want some broccoli? And he's like, you know, I think I'm gonna have pasta. And I'm like, okay, I didn't prepare any pasta, so, you know, what pasta are you having, and what are you having on it, you know? And that sauce isn't Starch Solution compatible. That pasta is not, it's white flour, that's not Starch Solution compatible. So that absolutely does happen. I hear you, I feel you. It is not like we're all doing the Starch Solution. We're not. The other thing is my body and Tim's bodies work completely different. I have a much slower metabolism, and my body doesn't let go of weight without me fighting like every moment with it. So he can get away with that stuff. I cannot, right? If I have one bad meal, I'll pay for it for a week. And that's how it works. The next question is, I love the back and forth between you and Tim in the early videos and when you guys work together. We need to see more of that. I agree. Tim, I'm a stay-at-home dad and a real estate agent, so I have much more time to do videos than Tim does. Tim works like 12 to 15 hours a day. He's constantly being paged, constantly on the phone, so it's almost impossible to get him to do a video. Now, the other thing is that when we work together, I work off of Tim, and he starts laughing, and then I make fun of him, if you want to call it that. And he doesn't really like that much. He's like, bro, you're not being nice. I'm like, no one wants to watch us be nice to each other. People want to watch me make fun of you. I mean, what's Abbott without Costello, right? All right, so the next question is, how are you meeting your protein requirements? You absolutely do not need meat to get protein. There is plenty of proteins in beans and vegetables and all that. So let me ask you this, if you're worried about protein. Where does your protein get its protein from? Cows, have you seen any skinny cows? All they eat is grass. Where are they getting their protein from? I'm more worried about other diets where you're ingesting fat, which is known to be high in cholesterol and artery clogging and all that stuff. Keto. Go ask them, you know, why they're eating that and, you know, why they're getting so much fat before you worry about vegans not having enough protein. There's not a lot of protein deficient vegans. The last question I have here is, I've been following this way of eating for 8 months. I enjoy it, but I'm not losing weight. Explain the idea of how it works. If you were to just fill your plate up 3 times a day, you could easily overeat and have too many calories. So the way the Starch Solution works is you break your plate in half, and on one side of the plate you have starchy vegetables that are whole foods. So potatoes or beans, something like that. And then on the other side of the plate, you fill it up with vegetables that don't have many calories at all, non-starchy vegetables. And I forget how many calories are in a potato, or depending on how much potato you put in your plate, but let's say you have one side of the plate with starchy potatoes, right? Baked potato. And you fill it up and you've got 350 calories there. And then on the other side of the plate, you fill that up with as much broccoli as you can stuff in there to finish the plate off, right? Well, now you've doubled your portion size, and broccoli is 30 calories for that whole half of the plate, if it's that much, right? So you went from having 350, right, to 380 calories for that whole meal. So 3 times a day, you're only at 1,000 and something calories for the entire day. You have a calorie deficit. What wouldn't work is if you took the plate with the potatoes and did the whole plate of potatoes. Then you'd have 350, 350. Now you're at 700 calories, right? 3 times a day, that's 2,100 calories. So can you overeat on the starch solution? You absolutely can, right? In the end, the starch solution, just like every other way of eating, if you're trying to lose weight, is about a calorie deficit. Now, the starch solution is a healthy way of eating, so if you're not trying to lose weight, you could eat a lot more starchy vegetables. In Mcdougall's program, he talks about if you're not trying to lose weight, if you're maintaining, you could do 3/4 of the plate of starchy vegetables and 1/4 of the plate in non-starchy vegetables. But that's the idea, that the non-starchy vegetables have to be there with the starchy vegetables so you get a whole plate of food and you're stuffed. When you're eating this, because of the carbohydrates and all the food that you eat, your stomach is stretching. And once your stomach stretches, you've got these stretch receptors that tell you, okay, I'm done. This is why this doesn't happen when you're eating just like candy bars with the same amount of calories, because your stomach hasn't stretched. The whole food carbs are making your stomach stretch. And then you're like, whoo, I'm done. And you're not snacking and hungry all the time like you are, when you're not eating carbs, right? If you're not losing weight on this program, you are eating too many calories. So hopefully you've learned a little bit more about me. If you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, we have a Facebook group called Plant-Based Dads, Starch Solution Enthusiast. Get on Facebook and join that, and it's a private group, so I'll approve you, and no one else can see what's in there except for the people in the group. And I hope this answers some of your questions about me. If you've got other questions, please send it to me in a private message on Instagram, and I'll keep track of them, and the next time we do one of these videos, I'll make sure to get them in there. All right, guys, that's our video for today. Please hit that like button, show us some love. What's not to like? If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Become part of the Plant-Based Dads family. You'll get notified every time we have a new video, which is usually every Monday, sometimes also on Wednesdays if there's DIY. And then if we got some baking with Tim or any of that stuff, that's going to be on Saturday. And leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on everything we talked about today. All right, guys, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.